All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Chapter 10. We're going to do the first exercise in this video, and in the next video we will do Exercise 2, and I believe there are only 2 exercises for this chapter, so we'll just make the 2 videos and we'll go from there. Might actually do 3 videos because I might take one video to show you how to do something a little bit different, but I think I'll be able to cut this down to 2 videos. So what we're looking at this week is we're looking at Chapter 10, Exercise 10-1. We're creating a new application. Now, of course, in the instructor or the publisher's materials, we do actually have a one that is already designed for us that already has a starting form. But again, I like to build all of my stuff from scratch, so you're more than welcome to use the publisher's materials to start this one if you want to. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create mine from scratch. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create the customer form. I'll do that. That is goes from basically steps 1 and 2 of this. But then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new form. That is a new thing that we're doing for this particular chapter. So I want to make sure I walk through that part of it and walk through how we're going to A, create a new form, and B, how we're going to be able to send our users to that new form properly. So for the first part here, I'm just going to design the customer form pretty close to how it is in the text, or in the text and in the publisher's materials. Mine's going to look a little bit different just because the way that I'm going to design it, I kind of like a little bit better. But by and large, it's going to look pretty much the same. So we'll get back to that in just a minute. I'll go ahead and I'll make that form, and we will be right back with moving on to the next step. And here we have our completed form. Just kind of wanted to go over things real quick. Again, this is a little bit of a different layout as compared to what's in the text. A little bit different layout than what the publisher provides, but it gets all the information out here. So we have a customer name, and I have a combo box right here. We have a payment method label here, have a payment information label here. Personally, I would probably use a rich text box for this and just set it to read only, or set it to enabled is equal to false. Just because you don't want the user to manually update this, which is why a label works. But the rich text box, in my opinion, has some nicer things to it, but the text uses a label, so I've done that. And then I have my 3 buttons here with select payment, save, and exit. And we'll just kind of run over the properties real quick of this as I look through it. So I know you can't see the items that I'm clicking on, but we have the customer name, which is LBL customer name, combo box for the customer name. The text uses CBO for the prefix for customer, or for the combo box. I prefer CMB. Whatever you want to use is fine. That's just kind of what I use. And again, you don't even have to use these. You can use combo, you can use anything, but just pick something that works for you, and then just stick with that as far as what you want to label your combo boxes or any of your form elements as. I have my label for the payment information. That is just the one that says payment method, and then this is the one for the actual label for the information itself. So you'll see the auto size is off, and I have a border style of fixed 3D, and that's what gives it this nice little outline. Let me zoom back over here. The fixed 3D is what gives it this nice little outline around the label. Just kind of a nice little thing that we can use. And then, of course, I have my 3 buttons. I have button select with the hotkey on the P. Button save has a hotkey on the S, and button exit has a hotkey on the X. On the form itself, I am starting it in the center position, and we have the cancel button is BT and exit, and the accept button is going to be button select. So that's just kind of my form in a nutshell. That's basically just how it was designed in the text. Like I said, some of it's a little bit different. I think it had the save and exit buttons down here on the bottom, and these were different sizes, different font sizes. I like to use font sizes that are a little bit bigger than the defaults or something like that, just because I think it's a little bit more easy to read. And just to test it out, we're going to go ahead and run it. And it keeps opening on the wrong screen for me. But you can see here where it exits. I don't have anything set up yet, so there's no code behind the scenes yet. But we have our exit, we have our select payment, our combo box for that, and then this label here. So we're just going to go ahead and close out of that. Back to my other monitor. And there we go. So the next thing that it asks us to do is to add a second form called FRM payment, and we're going to add this to the project. And what we want to do with that is we're going to go ahead and lay that one out again, similar to how the text is done. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to walk through how we actually add a form to the project, and then once again I'm going to kind of just step away for a minute, do the design kind of off camera, and then we'll get back and I'll kind of go over the form again, and then we'll start looking at how we're actually going to code this thing. So to add a new form to our application here, what we want to do is we want to right click on this line right here. So this is our project. We could have several different projects for each solution, but this is our project right here. And we want to add the project, or the new form, to the project, not the solution. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the project itself, and it's going to give us this drop down box. And you can't see it all right now, but I think we can see the stuff that's the most important for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to add, and that's going to pop up a book, or a menu here. Unfortunately, it looks like I can't see that, so let me go ahead and see if I can adjust this a little bit. So there we go, we're adjusting on the fly. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to right click here, we're going to come down here to add, and then down here, it's just off the screen again, but you can take my word for it, I guess, or I'll just continue to scroll up a little bit. We're going to add, we want to add a form. It should say form, Windows Forms. And once we click on that, it's going to bring us up with a dialog box that looks like kind of a normal adding a dialog, item dialog box. And we want to make sure that we have selected form, Windows Forms. That should be selected by default, but just, double check, make sure you have that. And then you just name it what you want to name it. So we're going to name it FRM Payment, which is what the text says. And then you can just hit enter. You don't have to hit .cs. You can if you want. It should automatically add the .cs to that. So we're just going to add FRM Payment to our thing. And when we look at our Solution Explorer again, let me go ahead and zoom this back up here to where we want to be. You'll notice in the Solution Explorer, we now have this form payment.cs file. We have the designer and we have everything else that goes with it. And we have a brand new form that we can start designing on. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch. I'm going to just pause the video for a little bit so I can put this form together. This one's going to look, again, pretty similar to what's in the text, so you can use that as your backing. I'm going to go ahead and redesign it here in just a little bit, and I will show you what we have for a finished product when we get back. All right, and here we have our finished product for the form. Once again, I have not I haven't added any code to this, so if I run it, nothing's really going to happen. But I just wanted to go through the form real quick. I have this group box right here, and I know the text covers some of this stuff, but I just kind of want to go over it briefly. What a group box does, it really just kind of provides a logical grouping for things like radio buttons, checkboxes, things like that. Um, and the nice thing about it is once you have your items in there, if you wanted to move, they all move together. So just kind of a nice thing that we can do and use for layout. It also groups together the radio buttons, so whenever you do run this, the thing about the radio buttons is only one in a group can be selected at a time. So if we have these ones grouped together and we choose credit card, which is going to be on by default, whenever we choose bill customer, the credit card will be unchecked. And then whenever we click credit card again, the bill customer will be unchecked. So there's some things that we can do there with that, but that basically is just one really nice way that we can use radio buttons, is what those are called. And it just allows us to ensure that only one item is checked. We put those in one group box, and that just ensures that they are grouped together, and we're not going to run into any issues with that. Then we have a label for credit card type and credit card number and expiration date. Those are all just basic labels, nothing strange there. We have this right here, which is called a list box. The list box allows us to add items, and each of those items are going to show up on individual lines, and it allows our user to check each item, or check one item. I believe you can do multi-checks, multi-list, but this is, that's beyond the scope of what we're doing here. This one right here is just a standard text box, so nothing special about that one. And then we have two combo boxes down here for the expiration dates, month and year. After that, we have a checkbox. Checkbox, simply put, is just something that can be either true or false. It allows us to allow the user to use that. The difference between a checkbox and a radio box is a checkbox. We can have any number of checkboxes checked, and it'll be all right. Whereas a radio button, only one within a group can be selected. The way that this is usually different, kind of described in programming classes that I've been in before, is basically the radio button is the size of your pizza, where it's either going to be small, medium, or large, and the checkboxes are the toppings that you want on there. So you can have pepperoni, sausage, green pepper, onion, mushrooms, bacon. You can have any number of those toppings or none at all. So you could check them all, you could check none of them, or you can check each individually. And then of course we have an OK and a cancel button. So now let's go ahead and we'll just kind of look at the properties of these. I'm just going to be going from top to bottom for my property, so whenever I switch over here to this other camera view, I hope I don't lose anybody on that. So for properties, again, we're going to start with the group box up top. My prefix for that is GRP. You don't have to use that prefix. The text actually doesn't use a prefix at all when dealing with radio boxes or with group boxes, but that is over here in the containers area under group box. So whenever you want to add a group box, you're going to come and expand the containers drop down here, and then you can get your group box. They're sizable however you want, and you can also add borders, background colors, and everything else to it however you want. But mine, again, has a thing of GRP is the prefix, and then of course we just change the text to whatever we want to billing options. Each of the radio buttons has an RAD prefix. Again, that is my prefix. I believe the text uses RDO. I use RAD. Use whatever you want, just as long as you know what your prefixes stand for, and you just kind of build your own convention. But radio credit card and of course radio billing of the customer. The only thing is that I have done on this one is I have changed check to true on the credit card radio button, and I changed, of course, the text to credit card. Then we have next, of course, is the LBL credit card type. That's just a regular label. And then we have the LST credit card type, which is our list box. The only thing I have changed there is the name. We could change some of the other information if we wanted to, but we're actually going to fill the information in this programmatically, so we're not going to do it here. Next we have LBL credit card number, or LBL card number, with its text box, text TXT credit card number. Nothing really special about that, so we'll just move on. Then we have LBL expiration, which is the label for our expiration date. And then we have CMB expiration month and CMB expiration year. Those are going to be the drop-down boxes or the combo boxes for the month and the year. Checkbox 1, I did not rename, so let me change that to CHK default. Don't know how I missed naming that one. CHK default is our checkbox for the default billing method. We could change other things if we wanted to. We could change it to how it's aligned, and we could change the text itself. But by and large, this is the way that it's set up in the text, so this is the way I'm going to leave it. But I want to show one real quick thing as a matter of example. With the checkboxes here, and this also works for the radio buttons, if we want to align the checkbox on the right instead of the left, we just come over here to the check align property, which might be hidden behind my head right now. But it's in the properties as check align. Let me go ahead and move back over there. Check align, and we're going to align to the middle right. And whenever we go back and we look at the form, you'll now see that the checkbox is actually on the right side of the text instead of the left. But I like it on, for this particular example especially, I like it on the left. So we're going to leave it there. And then to wrap everything up, we have the BTN accept, which I believe the text uses, I don't remember what the text uses, but since the button says OK, you might use BTN OK. I like to use accept. It just, to me, it's easier for me to remember what the button is if I keep it consistent with accept instead of OK. And then, of course, I have a hotkey of the O for the OK. And then finally, we have BTN cancel, which is our cancel button hotkey on the C. And I believe the only thing I have left to do is I have to set the cancel button, the accept button. Those are probably actually optional for this particular one, but I'm going to do it. And then of course we're going to start in the center of the screen. And I don't want FRM payment for my text. I want to go ahead and use payment form for my text, and that'll be the text of my form here. And I think that is pretty much everything that I need for this. So I think everything here should make sense. We'll just go ahead back to this view. So now that we have all this together, just one real quick thing that I wanted to bring up. Up here in the top of the form view, you will notice now that you have multiple tabs for the different items that you have. So if you want to switch back and forth between your different designs, you can just click on those designs, and then you can go back and forth between the two different forms. Another thing of note here is when you view the code for each of these items, the code takes place on two different files, and you'll notice that there is a different partial class for this. So we have form payment for our payment form and form customer for our customer form. So those are important things to remember as you're building. So obviously form payment goes with the payment design and form customer goes with the customer design. So as long as you can keep those things straight, it's a lot easier to work with. If you accidentally close one of your items, you can always go back through and you can let me just save everything and run it real quick just to get everything, make sure everything is saved and everything works right so far. Okay, everything's working right so far. So if you accidentally close one of these things, like the form payment, and you need to get it back, all you have to do is come over here to your Solution Explorer, double click on the file, and you can reopen it. So that is pretty much everything for the first part of this assignment. Let's see, where are we at now? We are at 20 minutes in almost. And all I've done is gone over the form. I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go ahead and end this particular video. I just wanted to get the forms made, walk through how they're all laid out, show you how to create a new form, and that's pretty much what I've done in this first video. I really don't want to go beyond that 20 to 30 minute mark, and if I start looking at the coding now, we're probably going to be looking at closer to 40 to 50 minutes for this first video, and I just think that's a bit long. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this video for now, starting in the next video, I will go ahead and we will start with the coding of the actual application. So I will see you in the next video.